Excellent.
So thanks everybody for joining today. I'm Doug Brunke, founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We've got to get a grip. We've got to get a grip. We've got to get a grip on our lives. We've got to get a grip on our business. And guess what? You're lucky because you're here and you're going to be able to hear Julie Lip explain how you can get a grip on your business. It's a practical workshop here within a Globinar at Global Chamber. Lack of control, being out of control, not having control on the correct things, trying to do quick fixes. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong with a business, but Julia works with companies and gives them the understanding of what they need to do and then the
Mhm.
techniques and the processes and the systems to be more successful. So, Julia, who we've known as Julia Walsh until recently, now has
I'm doing a rebrand. Yeah.
she's rebranding herself.
Yes.
EOS stays the same, but
Yeah.
Julia has a little bit of a rebrand. She's based in Switzerland
Yeah.
and she married a Swiss, and his
Yes.
name, I think it's a him, right? It's a fellow
Yes. Yep.
named Mr. Lip. And he has given her a new name, but she still has the
I took
same
the name.
amazing
I stole it.
techniques. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And you've
Yeah.
taken
Hmm.
also some tremendous techniques. Those of you who have read the book, we were talking about books earlier ahead of the recording. One of the best books you could read is the book Traction. That was really maybe not the basis of EOS, but it was certainly one of the first explanations, if
Yeah.
not the first explanation
Hmm.
of what EOS is all about. It's come a long way. It's been at least 10 years, I believe, since that book
Uh,
came out.
20 years maybe. Yeah.
Wow.
Traction summarizes everything I'm going to go over today. So, there, just so you know, all of this is out there, and available. So,
Well, congratulations on your 16 years experience of leading these types of support systems, leading your own business as well.
mhm.
What would you like to share with us today? We have about 50 minutes left, and our plan is for you to be educational. Your
Mhm.
plan is to be interactive with folks, and we turn the floor over to you. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and I've got some slides to help us along today. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna dive into it. We'll definitely have some time for Q&A as well. But I want to start out with just one promise for today, very simple promise, and that is that by the end of this webinar, you will walk away with one thing, at least one thing, that you can apply in your business the very next day, and things will get better. So, in order to do that, we need to partner together, and do three things. So, the first thing is we're going to get real. So, I want you to get real with yourself, about yourself and your business. And then the second thing is we're going to keep it very simple. So if you were wondering if you were going to hear about a new management fad or some really, esoteric leadership concept, unfortunately, you will be disappointed. We are focusing on very simple, practical things that have been proven. They're timeless concepts, that have been proven to work in entrepreneurial small and medium businesses. And then the third thing we're going to do is focus on getting results. So when we finish today, you're going to be able to walk away with a fresh set of action steps, that will make a difference in your business and help you get a grip on your business. So if that sounds good, let's get into things. So let's get real. I would love for you all to just take a moment and just jot down, what is the number one thing that's holding you back in your business? And I will ask for maybe one or two brave individuals out there to share. So what is your number one need? number one thing holding you back. So take a moment, have a think, and I'll share with you mine. So one of my number one need is delegation. I am holding on to a fair amount of things that if I keep doing that, I'm not going to be able to progress in my business. So I need more delegation. Can I hear from a brave person out there who wants to share what your number one need, number one challenge is? And feel free to drop it in the chat.
I see people typing away.
Okay, sales. We're hearing sales.
Sale.
Well, I know someone on the call that can help with that with Dan. Okay. Dan, since you're on my mind, what's your number one need, number one
Oh,
challenge?
Julia, I was
If I
afraid you
can
were going
put
to
you in
call on
the
me.
on the spot.
I was afraid you were going to call on me. It's balancing delivery with clients
Mm,
and business development. I'm either jumping in, spending all my time delivering with clients and not enough time business development, or vice versa. And it's trying
yeah,
to find the right balance for both of those things is my biggest challenge.
yeah, got it. Makes sense. And we've got one in the chat, stress management. So now let's get ready to look at the business in a whole new way. For those of you who are not driving, I'd like you to do an exercise with me. It may feel a little silly, but I'd like you to sit back in your chair, get comfortable, both feet on the ground, and close your eyes. I know it feels silly, but close your eyes. So there was a mathematician and philosopher by the name of Kurt Gödel. He was one of Einstein's contemporaries, and he proved scientifically that you cannot be a part of a system and at the same time understand that system. So we need to get you out of the weeds, out of all the tall grass. And I keep your eyes closed and I want you to imagine yourself levitating above your business so that you're able to look down on the business and see all the moving parts, including yourself. And so if you're there, you can open your eyes. All right. Are you guys ready to look at your business in a whole new way? Take that as a yes. Okay. Now that we've gotten a sense of, some of the things holding you back, let's flip it and look forward. I want you to write down, and we're not going to share any of these at this point. I just want you to clarify for yourself. Look 3 to 5 years out. What is your number one goal? And make it specific. It's just got to be two things. It's got to be at least 3 to 5 years out, and it has to be just one thing. So it could be revenue, profit, it could be more freedom, more customers, anything. So just take that moment and write it down. Okay. So what you guys just did is the first step in the EOS journey. So if you can have clarity about where you're going, everything else gets a little bit easier. And we'll come back to that when we talk about the vision component. Next, I'm going to just give you a very brief history of EOS and of my background. So EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. It was created by a lifelong entrepreneur named Gino Wickman. At the age of 25, he was called in to run his family business and found out that it was in need of a turnaround. And then so he worked with the leadership team, turned that business around, and ran it for 7 years and ultimately sold it and was able to exit the business. During that same time, he became one of the founding members of the Detroit EO chapter, Entrepreneurs Organization chapter. And when he was working with the other entrepreneurs, he realized that he had a knack and passion for the art and science of what it takes to run a really great entrepreneurial company. So when he retired from the family business, he just put all of his effort and energy into that knack and passion. And he began piecing together what is now EOS, which is just a set of simple, practical tools. They're timeless concepts that have been around for hundreds of years. They're going to be around for hundreds more. You're not going to see anything brand new, no silver bullets in what I share with you today. And some quick stats. So since Gino started creating EOS, he and I and another 911, we're up to as of last week, 911 professional EOS implementers around the world have conducted more than 260,000 full day sessions for the entrepreneurial leadership teams of more than 33,000 companies. And so when we're working together with those leadership teams, we make them better at three things we call vision, traction, and healthy. Vision, just getting everybody on the same page with where the company is going and how you plan to get there. Traction, meaning instilling discipline and accountability throughout the team so that everybody is actually achieving the vision. And then healthy, meaning creating a more cohesive, open and honest, functional team that enjoys spending time together. So what we find is from there, we get the leadership team, vision, traction, and healthy. Then the rest of the organization follows suit so that everybody in the whole company is aligned on the vision, so much more disciplined and actually achieving the vision and working together as a really healthy team. And the teams, the companies that we work with are entrepreneurial, so typically 10 to 250 employees. And the leaders, owners are growth oriented and open minded. And they've got a track record of success, proven product market fit. And so, yeah, that is EOS in a nutshell, the history and some stats. So now let's actually get into the actual system. And so EOS was it's based on the discovery that every entrepreneurial leadership team is wrestling with 136 issues simultaneously. And the discovery is that if you can strengthen just 6 key components of your business, all those 136 issues just fall into place because they're really just symptoms of root causes. And so what I'm going to walk you through is I'm going to show you the 6 key components and the tools and disciplines we use to strengthen the 6 key components. And my goal is to share with you just enough information so that you can start using some of the tools right away. Like I said, all the information I'm going to share with you is free. It's downloadable on the website. So my goal is to give you, I'm going to zoom into just a handful of tools so that you can start using them. Sound good? Okay. So when we're talking about the 6 key components, we show this in the form of the EOS model, and it has your business in the center of it. And so the first key component is the vision component. So this is getting everybody on the same page with where the business is going, how you plan to get there. And there are 2 tools and disciplines we use to strengthen the vision component. And by the way, I'm just doing a very high level pass around the model, and then we'll do a second pass around the model. That's where I get into a little bit more detail. You cannot achieve a great vision without great people. But every company defines great people differently. So when we take a second pass around the model, I'll get into more detail and help you understand how to identify what makes for right people in your organization. Third key component is strengthening the data component. So this is running your business on facts and figures and objective information instead of feelings, egos, and emotions that often drive decision making in an entrepreneurial company. So what happens is when you strengthen these three key components of your business, everything starts to become more transparent to you. You're going to see a lot of problems, challenges, obstacles just jumping out at you, as well as opportunities. And that leads us to the fourth key component, the issues component. So this is just getting really great at solving your issues as they come up. You cannot be successful if you're not great at setting your problems up, knocking them down, making them go away forever. The fifth key component is the process component. So this is just making sure that all the most important things in your business are done the right and best way every single time. This creates consistency, scalability, much more profitability, makes the business easier to run, more fun to run. So that's the process. And the sixth key component is the traction component. So this is all about bringing that vision down to the ground and actually executing on it with discipline and accountability. There is no coincidence that we've got vision at the top of the model and traction at the bottom, because if you can't get really good at bringing your vision down to the ground and executing, then vision without traction is hallucination. So this is the EOS model. Those are the six key components. And when we're talking about strengthening each of the key components, we actually measure progress on a scale of up to 100% strong. So you're striving and working every single day to strengthen it, get it to 100%, all while knowing that 100% is utopia. The business is always evolving. So our goal is always at least 80% strong in the six key components. If you can get to 80%, then that is an excellent, really great run business. And for context, most of the companies that when they start working on this, they're actually at about 20% strong in the six key components. So they're actually succeeding in spite of themselves. So we want to get you to 80% strong. Okay, now I'm going to take that second pass around the model, and let's dive into some tools. So the first tool we use to strengthen the vision component is what we call the 8 questions. And this is the first tool I'm going to dive in to. So it is getting your leadership team on the same page with the answers to 8 questions. And we keep the answers on a 2-page document called the Vision Traction Organizer. So we are boiling your entire strategy and plan into just 2 pages for just ultimate clarity. I'm going to run through quickly each section so that if you want to use this tool, you'll have enough information so you can start using it. So first question is, what are your core values? These are just the guiding characteristics that define who you are at your core. And when we get to the people component, you actually use your core values. So we can park that for a minute. The core focus. What is your core focus? So this is your company's sweet spot. It's been called vision statement, mission statement, hedgehog concept. We call it core focus because it comes from your core. And if you can stay laser focused on your core focus, you're always going to be working in your sweet spot. So the 10-year target, this is your long-term, this is ultimately what do you want from your business. So that goal that you wrote down at the beginning of the workshop, take that goal and look further out, 5 to 30 years out. We call it 10-year target because most clients end up picking 10 years as the time frame, but it can be anywhere from 5 to 30 years out. And what this does is it really helps you and your leadership team, and subsequently the rest of your organization, be fully aligned on where is this company going? What are we working towards, instead of everyone having slightly different ideas of where the business should be going. So it's the question itself is not magic, like what is your 10-year target, but it's actually the clarity and getting everybody, especially your leadership team, aligned. That clarity and alignment is where you get the magic. Next is your marketing strategy. So this is getting the leadership team 100% on the same page with who you should talk to and what you should say to get the highest return on investment of precious sales and marketing energy, money, effort. So it's got 4 parts. So the first 2 are the most critical. The second 2, you can use if it's relevant to your business. So the first is, what is your target market? So this is the demographic, geographic, and psychographic profile of the kinds of companies you should be really laser focused on proactively selling and marketing to. And the rest of the marketing strategy is your message to those people. So 3 uniques: answering the oldest marketing question in the book. What makes you different and better than your competition? What are the 3 things that would resonate with your target market? Proven process. This is a simple 1-page visual illustration. This is my proven process. So it's just a 1-page visual illustration of the way you take care of your customers or clients from the minute they start thinking about doing business with you all the way until they're longtime satisfied clients of yours. And then the guarantee is just a pledge or a promise that reduces that fear of adoption, and it helps you close more business. So that's the marketing strategy. And so when you answer the first 4 questions, you will know who you are, what you love to do and what you're best at with your core focus, where you're going long term, and how you plan to get there with your marketing strategy. So from there, we start to crystallize that higher level vision, bring it a little bit closer to the ground with the 3-year picture. And it's very simple. This is not, a 3 to 5 page strategic planning process we're going through. So we're just trying to crystallize for you and your team what this company needs to look like 3 short years from now, because if you can all see the same thing, the chances that you'll actually achieve it are significantly higher. So you figure out revenue, profit, and measurables. What do you need to hit? And then the bullet points underneath the question, what does it look like? This is where you work with your leadership team to just paint a picture of what that company looks like 3 short years from now. Again, if you can all see the same thing, the chances that you'll actually achieve it become significantly higher because you're all on the same page. And then the other benefit is that it sets you up for very productive and straightforward 1-year planning. So that's the next question. Again, same predictions, revenue, profit, measurables. What do we need to achieve this year or next year to lay the foundation for achieving your overall goal? And then crystallize with the leadership team what are the 3 to 7 priorities for the year. We call them goals, and we focus on 3 to 7, not 27, because when everything is important, nothing is important. And then we move on to the quarter, and set quarterly rocks. So rocks are just 90-day business priorities. It gets you all aligned on what is most important to achieve over the next 90 days. So you set the predictions. You also set 3 to 7 priorities / rocks for the company over the next 90 days. And this creates more discipline and focus so that every single quarter you're chipping away at your 1-year plan and your overall goals. And ultimately, you set 3 to 7 rocks for everybody on the leadership team as well. And lastly, we've got the issues list. So what are all the things that are holding you back from achieving your vision and your plan? So the discipline here is getting all of that out of your head and onto a list. And when you've done that, you've answered all 8 questions. You're all on the same page as a leadership team. And then the second discipline is what we call shared by all. So this is getting the rest of your organization, every single person to understand your plan, want to be a part of it, know where they fit in the big picture, and everybody rowing in the same direction. And that ultimately gets you to 100% strong. The second component is the people component. So we're talking about right people and right seats. So right people are people who fit your company's culture. So they're consistently exhibiting those core values that you defined on your VTO. And what the tool that you can use to get right people is called the People Analyzer. And this helps you to analyze all of your people, whether or not black or white, they consistently exhibit your core values. You've got core values at the top, you've got people on the side, and then you rate them plus, plus, minus, minus for each of your core values. And so this helps you to get everybody on your team to be right people. And it also helps to facilitate really productive conversations with them about where they're falling short and where they're succeeding. So that is right people. To get right seats, these are just people who are good at their job. So they've got the skills, the ability, the desire to do their job really well. And the tool that you can use to help people to get right people is what we call the accountability chart, because we start with structure first and then people second. So you build out, like this is an example of a leadership level accountability chart. So we've got the major functions of the business, the leadership functions, bringing in the business, delivering the product at operations, and then finance and admin, just helping the business operations run. So if you're doing this exercise, the rule of thumb is 3 to 7 major functions. But you figure out what's right for your organization, what will take your business to the next level. And then we always, in every great business, you have what we call an integrator. So this is one person who's actually integrating all of the major functions of the business so that they're all working together to actually achieve the overall vision. So this is the basic leadership structure. And then 50% of the time, when I'm working with clients, we have another leadership function called the visionary. And so this is typically the founding owner. They're a big idea person. They love staying at 30,000 feet. They come to every meeting with hundreds of ideas, but they really don't like getting into the weeds for too long. That kind of work is better suited to an integrator. So if you have a visionary type person at your company, just call it out and make sure that they're not trying to do integration work. Because when you have a visionary person stuck in an integrator seat, you're going to see a lot of 90-day spikes in the business because it's very difficult for them to maintain that focus for so long. So the next way that you customize the accountability chart is you identify what are the 5 major roles of that seat. And then you place people into those seats that what they are great at, what they love to do, consistently match the 5 roles in that seat. So that's how you get right seat. And eventually you do this for the whole organization and imagine getting 100% of your people to be the right people. They consistently fit your culture and they're in the right seat. And so when you follow this process and use this tool, you're going to encounter 2 people issues. Either you might find that you've got a right person in the wrong seat. So they fit your culture, but they're just in the wrong seat. You love them. So if you have multiple seats, maybe you can find them a better seat that they're actually great at. But if you can't, as difficult as it is, I'd encourage you to make a change, because if you're running a for-profit organization, you can't keep a bunch of people around just because you love them. Wrong person, right seat. That's the other issue. This is when you've got someone who's really great at their job, they're hitting their numbers, they're highly productive, but they do not fit your culture. So this person, they're chipping away at your business in little ways you can't even see. And as hard as it is, I'll urge you, beg you, and plead with you to make a change, because this person is doing much more damage than you might realize. So ultimately, the goal is 100% of your people to be the right people, and they're in the right seats. You have to have both. Next, the data component. So when we're talking about strengthening the data component, this is not strengthening your business's ability to look for data, compile data. This is about strengthening two things. The first is having a scorecard, a really good leadership team scorecard. 5 to 15 numbers that give you a true pulse on the business and how the business is doing, and if you're on track to being successful and hitting your goals. So just very quickly, it looks like this. So you've got a weekly measurable, and then you have a person who's accountable, and then you've got a goal, a weekly goal for that measurable. And then you've got 13 weeks of history so that you can see at a glance if there are any problems or trends. So it really helps you keep a pulse on the business. And what I want to make a finer point here. So if you want to work on your scorecarding measurable discipline, I highly recommend that you focus on more activity-based measurables. As you can see, these are more leading indicators for your business. So for example, if you're looking to close more sales, you might measure proposals sent, phone calls made. Sales is all about rejection. So getting as many no's as you can is actually a good thing. So measure things that are earlier in the process, so that if you're not hitting your numbers or your targets for those activities, you can catch those problems faster sooner, instead of waiting until you realize, end of the month, at end of the quarter, that you haven't hit your targets. So that is the scorecard, is the collection of those things. And the second discipline is making sure that everybody in the whole organization is actually accountable for 1, 2, or 3 measurables, so that every single person feels as though they're being held accountable for helping the company hit their overall targets. So that's what 100% strong looks like. So again, strengthening these 3 key components will help you smoke out more issues. And so the discipline here, we've already talked about the issues list, but the discipline here is creating a cultural change in your organization so that everybody is more comfortable raising their hand, calling out issues, saying, hey, we have a problem, or I have an idea, we have an opportunity, so that all of that ends up on a list somewhere in your organization. We then need to make sure that everybody in your company is better at resolving and prioritizing those issues. And the tool and discipline we use for that is called the issue solving track, or IDS. This is how we solve problems at the root, make them go away forever. So identify, discuss, and solve. So we created this issue solving track to keep teams on track when they're solving their issues, because we discovered that even highly productive teams just spend a lot of time discussing issues. Very rarely do they identify the root cause. Very rarely do they solve anything. So this is how it works. So you first take a look at the list when you're with the team. You prioritize the 1, 2, 3 most important things that need to get solved that week. And then you dig in an IDS issue number 1. Identify what is the root cause. Oftentimes it's the thing that you wrote on the list is just a symptom. So we have to dig deeper. And then once that's clear, you then discuss the issue briefly with nobody repeating themselves, because saying it more than once is politicking. And then you move to solve. So what is the step? What is the solution to make this issue go away forever? Have people commit to it, have an owner to actually execute that solve, and a timeline. So that gets you to a place like 100% strong is everybody in your organization getting really good at solving your issues at the root, making them go away forever. The 5th key component is the process component. So first discipline here is documenting and simplifying. We take a very entrepreneurial approach to documenting and simplifying your core processes. So just boiling the business down to the 6 to 10 core, just a handful of core processes that really make the business run, and documenting 20% of the steps that will get you 80% of the compliance. We're not talking about a 600-page SOP manual that nobody ever looks at or uses. And the point here is that if you isolate the things, the rote, repeatable things that happen in your business, if you systemize the predictable, then you can humanize the exceptional. And this is an excellent quote from the founder of Four Seasons of how they became so successful. And then the next discipline is getting this, your core processes followed by all. Is just a mechanism for ensuring everybody who touches any part of the process has been properly trained, knows the right and best way of doing things, and is being measured and managed to do it the right way every single time. And ultimately, 100% strong is everybody following those documented procedures, the documented processes. You're going to get more consistency and scalability in the business and ultimately make more money that way. And then lastly, we've got the traction component. So the strengthening the traction component is just about 2 things. So the first is rocks and the second is meeting pulse. So we talked about rocks when we were talking about the VTO. So setting 3 to 7 company level priorities for the next 90 days and 3 to 7 priorities for the leadership team as well, like individuals for the leadership team. And so 100% strong here is rolling this discipline throughout the organization so that every person in the company has at least 1 rock per quarter that really crystallizes the most important thing they need to go execute on in the next 90 days. And this creates what we call a 90-day world. So that every 90 days you're in this pulse, you're resetting, you're looking back on how you did the last quarter, rechecking the vision, and then identifying the rocks for the next 90 days. So that's rocks. Meeting pulse is our solution, EOS's solution to running highly effective, efficient, productive meetings. It is possible. So I'm going to run through this very briefly, and there are a couple really great videos online where you can, like 5-minute videos where you can go through this again if this is the tool you want to implement. So first you start with good news. So segue from working in the business to working on the business. And then the next thing is reporting. So all the most important things in the business. So taking a look at the scorecard we talked about earlier, are your numbers on track? Taking a look at rocks, are those on track? Are your most important things on track? Checking in on your employees and customers, any headlines there. And then we insert a to-do list into the meeting to drive weekly accountability. And then the majority of the what we call 90-minute, or this is 90 minutes, so the level 10 meeting, the majority of that meeting is 60 minutes and at a minimum of IDS, issue solving, solving your issues at the root. And then lastly, concluding. So with 5 minutes to spare, you just wrap up, make sure that you're reflecting on the meeting, rate the meeting 1 to 10. How did you do, with 10 being best? If anybody gives feedback of less than 8, 8 or less, then you share feedback so that you can always get better at the meeting every single week. So again, this part is all about reporting. We're not getting caught up in doing long updates here. We are simply smoking out issues, things that are not on track. And then to-dos, just making sure that the to-dos from the previous meeting are done, at least 90% of those done every single week. So reporting, smoking out, dropping things down to the issues list and prioritizing and resolving those. So that's the level 10 meeting. And that's what, like 100% strong in the traction component is, like I said, everybody having at least one rock per quarter, and every department, everybody in a meeting pulse that's correct for their department or their team. So that's the EOS model. And I know I've thrown a lot of information at you. So I want to boil it down. We're going to talk about like actual results, specific actions that you can take. So there are 5 tools that we call foundational tools. And this is where you get the biggest bang for your buck. This is where you get 80% of the results from. So I'd like everybody to write down for themselves, which tool they're going to dive into in the next 7 days and actually apply in the business. So for example, if you feel like you're not having really great meetings, instill the level 10 meeting pulse. If you don't feel like your leadership team or the company is clear on priorities, maybe implement rocks, those 90-day priorities. If you don't feel like people are crystal clear on roles and responsibilities, implement, like do the accountability chart exercise. If you don't feel like everyone's crystal clear on the vision, do the VTO, those 8 questions. And what am I missing? Oh, scorecard. Yeah, if you're feeling like you're not clear on the repeatable weekly things that will get you the results that you want, and you don't feel like you have a good pulse on the business as usual, then implement a really strong scorecard. So again, pick from these which ones you might want to implement. And I realize that there may be a couple people out there on the webinar who might be thinking, okay, I don't want to pick just one. If you're the type of person that's like, okay, I want to implement all of this and I need help, I'm going to send a survey at the end of this webinar for some feedback. And feel free to let me know if you would like a 90-minute meeting with your whole leadership team so I can show them all of this and you can see the whole system in action. Another thing, if you also would like me to follow up, let me know if you want to follow up. I can send a what's called like an assessment, an org chart, or I'm sorry, an organizational checkup. So you can see how strong you are in the six key components. That's also an option. And then I can also send an ebook called Decide. So again, I've thrown a lot out there, so I want to give some time for some questions. I'll just know that there's a lot of resources out there. We've got the book Traction that summarizes everything that I went over, all the downloadable tools, and then I'm a resource as well. So do we have any questions out there? I haven't been monitoring the chat. I'm curious, or even comments, like if anyone wants to share what tool or discipline they're going to play around with. Dan,
Hi, thank you. Julia, great presentation. I am
thank
a
you.
big fan of EOS. I'm a solopreneur, but I've read almost all of those books. And
Yeah.
you know, EOS is such a phenomenal tool. And I have to say, I use some of the tools in my own business. The Vision Traction Organizer and the scorecard. I mean, I've set that for myself, and
Mm,
it's just
same.
such good tools and foundations for how to run a business. And so I just wanted to give you that comment, but I also thought it might be helpful to the audience to talk about some of the pains or symptoms that you see with potential
Yeah.
clients who really could use EOS. What is it you're looking for in those clients? What are they doing wrong today? What are they struggling with? What are they frustrated about? That would be really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And they're generally two types of businesses, entrepreneurial businesses out there. You've got companies that are just feeling like they've got a lot of control over the business. Like they're working really hard, but they have some sense of balance and control, and they're making progress on what they want. And then you have the majority of companies, and I'll put myself in there when I was running companies as well, is feeling frustrated with, yeah, like this feeling like the business is running you instead of the other way around, maybe frustrated with profit, like not enough profit for the amount of effort, money, emotional investment that you're putting into the business, just not feeling like you're getting enough profit in return. Frustrated with people, like they just feeling like employees, business partners, um, vendors, customers, just being really frustrating. And then the other thing is this feeling of hitting the ceiling. So a lot of times, I hear from business owners where it's like there's been, periods of time where the business is moving along, you're growing, you're able to zigzag and solve lots of problems, and then all of a sudden you just hit this ceiling. And so it's this feeling of being stuck, and just trying a bunch of things and not really being able to break through that ceiling. So those are usually the people that are coming to EOS to get unstuck, and handle all those frustrations. That's what it's designed for.
It's great. Thank you.
Thanks. Stephen?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very interesting. A lot of the topics you hit on, as a recruiter, we see these all the time. Um, right person, wrong place, or, especially if a lot of people have heard this before. You have a great salesperson, the company wants to reward him, gives them a great
Oh
new
yeah.
position as sales manager. And sometimes it works out, or
Yeah.
unfortunately, the company's just lost a good salesperson, gained a bad sales manager. Both are frustrated, and yeah, a lot of times if it's too late, they can't go
Mm,
back. And everybody's just miserable at the same time. Or you'll have the situation where the company is doing well or growing, and then
Hmm.
you've got a different situation. You've got right people, but all of a sudden the organization has changed.
Yeah, like the seat has outgrown those people. Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
they need,
so
it's like then you've got new skills
hmm.
being needed and
Yeah.
then no people within the organization. So a lot of times that's when we come in or
Okay. Good
to
to know.
train as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and when that happens, like just that's great that the business is evolving. Like that
Hmm.
accountability chart should also be evolving with the
Hmm.
company. So always if you're interested in using the accountability chart, my recommendation is look 6 to 9 months out. What does the business actually need? And figure out whatever that new structure is. Um, it's not about creating like tons of layers and
Hmm.
bureaucracy. It's just, what's the structure? What do we need? And then if there are any gaps for those people where maybe a seat has outgrown them, then you can figure out, okay, do we just need to get them some coaching or training to get them to level up? Or is this actually not going to work because they're never going to fully get whatever this new seat is.
Hmm.
Um, so very, it can be emotional, but it's really helpful to start with structure first and then people instead of trying to build the seats around the people that you already have because it's going to hold the business back.
Hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
I,
okay.
I think we're at the end of the hour, and so perhaps
Yeah.
at this point, what we could do is hear from you in terms of a couple things. Number one is
Hmm.
what should the takeaways be? And then, of
Yeah.
course, how one of the takeaways needs to be how to get a hold of you.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what would you like to have us bring with us? Looks like you have some final thoughts or
Yeah, some final thoughts here. Um, so just a couple things. I do not believe that every single business should be running on EOS. Um, it's not right for everyone. But the takeaway that I one of the takeaways I want you to have is choose a system, a business operating system, a way so that your whole leadership team is using the same language, using the same disciplines, and has just the same framework for developing strategy and plan and holding people accountable, etc. So choose one system. We have a creed. It's you cannot run a great business on multiple operating systems. You must choose one. And then the second thing I want you to think about is think about that thing that you wrote down, that number one goal that you want. Obsess about that and get all of your resources, energy, people focused on that one goal. And, here's a quote from a visionary. So I've never felt so alive and in control. I own the vision for my future and the ability to share it with others and get them on board. Here's the best part. I'm 41 years old and I can only imagine what's possible. So this is what I want for you. And if for this through this whole workshop you've been able to take one tool, one concept that will get you one step closer to getting what you want, then I am very, very happy. So this is my contact. I'll also drop a link into the chat for a survey. Um, and let me just drop this in here because I'm all about feedback. So I would love to hear from you guys. Rate the meeting for this webinar 1 through 10, 10 being best. And if you have any feedback, And then there's also options if you would like me to follow up with that org checkup link, follow up with you about doing a 90-minute meeting workshop with your leadership team, or if you want a free ebook by Gino Wickman called Decide. But I would love your feedback no matter what.
Will you be sharing the slides?
I can share the slides if you'd like. Everything is out there uh, in in traction and everything. So yes, if you want, you can send me an email and I can send you some slides.
Really great presentation, feedback, thumbs up, 10 out of 10. Great information, great presentation, well formatted. Who would you like to meet? Who do you find to be your best client? You're based in Switzerland, and
Yep.
so in a normal world, it's like, well,
Mm,
let's give
yeah.
you folks in Switzerland, but you
Yeah.
provide support for companies all over the world.
Yeah, so I'm from Boston. You might be able to tell I don't sound Swiss. So I actually have a fair amount of clients that I travel back for in New England. Um, and I so I'm always looking to connect with companies like business owners, CEOs of 10 to 250 employee companies. I also specialize in working with distributed leadership teams. When I was a client of EOS, I was in a distributed leadership team, so I know exactly what that life is like. Um, and I'm also, like I said, there are over 900 of us. So if there's someone who's interested in learning more about EOS, but they want someone more local to them or on a different time zone, I am more than happy to connect them with another EOS implementer, because it's all about, making sure that they feel that they have someone that can guide them on the journey of EOS, someone who's a right fit.
Are there market segments or other aspects of business that you either specialize in or feel most comfortable in?
Yeah, so it's industry agnostic. And actually, sometimes the industries I don't have a background in, it's easier for me because I'm not a consultant that's telling people what their strategy should be, all of that. I'm really all about teaching the tools and disciplines and coaching people. But I've got a background in I love working in tech companies, blue collar industries, manufacturing, construction. So I've got a wide variety of background there. Life sciences. Yeah.
Round of applause for our great speaker. How about that? Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. And we'll keep an eye out for some folks to introduce you to, because this is clearly something
Mhm.
that they can benefit from, and we definitely want to help and support you. Thank you for your
Yeah,
presence.
thank you. And feel free to reach out to me, even if you're like, I am never going to hire you, but I just need help with this one thing. Please, like, I love helping people. I love helping companies. So just feel free to reach out.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.